Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Zone Blitz. As always, I'm Vince Miller, joined by my co-host Ashton Overholt. We're doing a reaction pod for a Week 10 that saw a lot of games. Some top 10 teams fell, which is just kind of par for the course. And then I think the real story was how close a lot of other top 10 teams got to falling, and a lot of teams escaped this week. Put it that way.
Right.
And why don't we just start with one of those right off the top? Noon game. Ohio State beats Nebraska 26-17. Um, and I know that's technically a two-score game, but it felt like a one-score game, and was until late, I would say. How did you feel about this game?
I don't know. In our preview pod, I think we thought that Ohio State would kind of come out and roll Nebraska. Nebraska's 3-7 and has Nebraska. Okay, this is a stat that's been thrown around a lot. They are 1-6 in Big Ten play, 1-6 in 7 games, but they have actually outscored. They have a plus on the plus minus score. Like they have scored, I think 190 points, and they have allowed, I think 176. So they've scored. That would be 14 more points. And they're 1-6 in those 7 games. And it's like they've lost close to a ton of people. Like you go back to even like the Oklahoma game, like they lost close, and like they're close to being good. And I think we saw that maybe like with Frosty, Scott Frost. He's getting, at least he'll be back next year. We found that out today, that he'll be back at least one more year. So and that's fine. Like Scott Frost is pretty good, and he's been good. As to Ohio State, okay, well, let's just start with a question, and I'll just no prep, no nothing. Who is the second best team in America right now? Who would you rank number 2?
Georgia with Stetson Bennett.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
That's only because
behind Georgia with JT Daniels. Yeah.
All right. Twist the knife then. Fine.
Oh man, dude, that is such a good question.
I know. It's crazy after Georgia.
We don't obviously, we're recording before the playoff rankings come out.
Yeah.
Let me look at the AP poll and we'll go through it for a little bit, because obviously Georgia's number 1. They're the number 1 team in the country.
Let's do it.
The AP has Cincinnati, who just escaped, at number 2.
Yep.
They have Alabama at 3, who just escaped. They have Oklahoma at 4, who was on a bye.
Right.
Oregon at 5, who just escaped.
Yeah.
Ohio State at 6, who just escaped.
Yeah.
Number 7 is Notre Dame, who crushed Navy.
Yeah, you beat up on Navy.
Right. 8 is Michigan State, who just lost.
Yep.
9 is Michigan, who
just lost to Michigan State.
Right. A week ago.
Yep.
10 is Oklahoma State, who has not done anything particularly impressive this year.
Yeah.
11 is A&M. Is it A&M?
It could vary. Okay, they have. Hey, just go with me here on that. A&M is playing as well as anybody in the nation except for Georgia. Okay, last week, if you play A&M against anybody on a neutral site, I say they would have beaten possibly anyone except Georgia. Does that make sense?
It's possible.
Maybe. I mean, I would have said they would have lost to Alabama, but like we've already seen them beat Alabama, so like there goes that whole argument. Maybe Oklahoma. Okay, for me it's Cincinnati. For me, Cincinnati's the number 2 team in the nation. I know they struggled. I understand they struggled with. Hey, so did a lot of other teams. For the Ohio States of the world, Ohio State was in a dogfight late into the 4th quarter when they played Tulsa. So I mean, let's understand the final the score didn't maybe reflect that, but like to act like Ohio State is just out here steamrolling people is not being that's not being fair. It's really not being fair, because Cincinnati, I understand they struggled. They struggled with Navy a week ago, and like it hasn't been great for them. But for me, it's Cincinnati. For me, Cincinnati's number 2, and we go from there. It's just a jumble, really. It's just a total mess.
If you want to rank Cincinnati number 2, I'm fine with that. I don't think they're the second best team in the country right now. In fact, I'd feel pretty good about Notre Dame playing them again right now. Just the way Cincinnati has been playing the last 3 weeks. It's been rough, man.
It has.
But
it's been rough for everybody, right? Like
pretty much.
Who hasn't it been rough? I mean, I understand you say that like Notre Dame would beat Cincinnati, but like we've already seen that happen. And this was at Notre Dame.
Yeah. I'm not saying you rank Notre Dame ahead of Cincinnati. Absolutely not.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're asking me who the actual best teams are right now,
Right.
I rank Georgia 1, and then like just because somebody has like, man, it's
Ole Miss. Put Ole Miss there. I dare you.
no, no. Like I think if I had to say, I'd probably still go with in 2 through 4 in some order. I think Bama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma.
Right.
I mean, they're the most talented teams after Georgia.
Just because of the logos, Vince. The only reason you do that is because of the logos.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, you might be wrong. Like, I'm going to say that Oregon went to the shoe and beat up Ohio State.
Well, I'm ranking Oregon ahead of Ohio State if we're doing a ranking. If we're talking about there's a difference between a ranking and a power rating.
I understand that. No, I get that. I do understand that. But like Oregon beat them at their place.
Yeah.
How are you going to say that now Ohio State's better? Like what have we seen from Ohio State to like, whoa, they're better? I would argue that so Oregon beat Washington they won by 9, right? And they had to get it that was a very close game, right? They trailed actually for a while there.
By the way, Washington totally deserved what they got with their decision at the end there. Oh my goodness. We'll get to that later, but
okay, all right. I'm just saying Oregon should be ranked above Ohio State. Always.
Yes.
Like always, because they beat them. And I don't know. I think Alabama should actually be dropping. I really do. I think Alabama needs to drop. Okay, like Vince Miller, you put who in your top 4 right now? Not your power rating. What's your ranking?
So like the playoff starts tomorrow, and I need to
the playoff
choose
starts
4
tomorrow.
teams.
You have to choose 4 teams for the playoff, which starts tomorrow.
I think I might have Georgia at 1.
Oh, that's bold from you. Wow.
Right, yes.
Even with Stetson Bennett, you still put him at 1.
Yes. I think I would have Oklahoma and Cincinnati both in.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they're undefeated and there's no super impressive one-loss teams.
I'm tracking with you.
So if you're undefeated, and then I realize I'm not going to put UTSA in, but also Cincinnati has the win against Notre Dame and also
that's big.
Another Power 5 win with Indiana.
Yes.
So those 3 for me right now, if the playoffs start tomorrow, that's easy.
Right. Okay.
The fourth one.
Who's your last one? Yep. Do it.
So let me go through this.
You want to put Ohio State or Alabama in, don't you? Who have they beat? Who has Ohio State or Alabama beat that's impressive?
Well,
okay, actually, Alabama beat Ole Miss. Sorry.
And they crushed Ole Miss.
They did. They beat up on Ole Miss. Strike that one from the record. Who has Ohio State beat that's impressive? They beat nobody. I mean, their best win is what? Penn State, and that was
I think Ohio State would be 6 in my rankings.
Okay, and Alabama's where?
It'd be Alabama or Oregon, probably. And
wow. Yeah, if you put Alabama versus Oregon, if you do it that way, you almost have to go with Bama because their loss is like so much better.
their loss is better, and everything else is better except the quality of the best win.
So you're going to go Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Alabama.
I might have Oklahoma ahead of Cincinnati, just based on the way Cincinnati's been playing.
Okay.
But I think I'd probably go Georgia, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Alabama.
So Georgia plays Bama in round 1.
Yeah, I guess. In my fictional college football playoff, it starts today. Is that the way you would do it too, or what was your 4B?
Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma. Nothing wrong with that. It's if you haven't lost, like that has to matter. It does. It has to matter because a win, any kind of win, even a bad win, is better than a loss. It really is. I understand there's people out there that say it's not, but like Oklahoma hasn't just played like nobodies. I mean, they've played some decent teams. And they haven't blown people out. I understand that. Not like we're used to seeing in years past. And the offense hasn't been just, prolific like we're used to under Lincoln Riley. But they still have won, and they're 9-0 in the Big 12, which is a Power 5 conference. And that is better than Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, anyone else. So I think you do have to put Oklahoma in because of that. And probably Alabama then at 4. Like probably the same. And you could make an argument. I don't think you could put Notre Dame in, because their only loss would be to a playoff team, right? And that would help. I just don't think you could do it.
We don't have enough impressive wins.
No, not really. No, not yet. Or nor will you either.
Well, Wisconsin could theoretically still win the Big Ten.
They Graham Mertz. Dear Lord.
Wouldn't that be incredible?
Dear Lord, please let it happen.
Okay, so I guess Ohio State, Nebraska. Ohio State clearly less impressive than we thought a few weeks ago.
Yes, clearly.
Yes. And it's all still in front of them. Like, for all of these teams that we've mentioned that are being super unimpressive, like, they can all still make the playoff.
It changes every week.
Yes.
Like, the whole narrative and feel about a team changes weekly for, like, everyone except Georgia. Georgia's the only team that hasn't, like, had a blip, like, they've just been steady. They just crush everybody. That's kind of their thing. Yeah. So it's our thing. Yeah, I'm a Georgia fan. It's our thing. It's a good year for us. I'm going to take some ownership for that. But, like, everyone else has had just a really bad week or multiple bad weeks where they're just not, like, they're just, we can get into Florida a little bit, but, like, they kind of just have, like, that sleepwalking thing where they just, like, walk in and, like, Alabama was not prepared for LSU and should have lost this past weekend. Absolutely should have lost that football game because, like, they were outplayed. They were just outplayed.
We'll get to that in a minute. Let's go through these games before we get to that. So North Carolina beats Wake Forest 58-55. Absolutely brutal for my lock there. I had Wake Forest at plus 2.5, and they were up 18 in the second half.
Yeah, right.
All I had to do was lose by 2, and they lost by 3. So anyway, but North Carolina kind of was the essence of North Carolina, which is really good offense, really bad defense, very up and down, though, as a whole.
Yeah.
Down by 18, but then their talent, I guess, their superior talent, they sort of figured it out and came back and 58 points. That's nothing to sneer at, obviously.
Yeah.
Wake Forest, kind of the similar story, just a more consistent version where they have really good offense, bad defense.
Their defense, Wake Forest wasn't good. Let's just be honest. We knew Wake Forest wasn't the 9th team in the country.
Well, yeah. But they are good. Like you say, they weren't good, though. They weren't a top 10 team.
But they were impersonating one. They were acting like a top 10 team.
They're still a good team. Like, this is still a very good coaching job by Dave Clawson.
They could easily lose 2 or 3 more games.
They could. That's still really that's a really good job for Wake Forest.
Sure, understood. Yeah. But, like, they're not a good team.
They're not a great team.
It's good for them. It's good for them. They would lose. I think Wake Forest would lose to 6 or 7 SEC teams tomorrow.
What is your definition of good?
So, okay, good means you deserve to be ranked in the top 10, top 15. I don't think Wake Forest is even a top 15 team. I think they get beat by a lot of teams. You can't convince me that Ole Miss would lose to Wake Forest on a neutral field. I think even Baylor, I think Auburn would beat Wake Forest. Penn State possibly. Like, I think there's a number of teams. I think NC State, who plays Wake Forest here in a bit, will beat them. I think Clemson also could beat Wake Forest. So, like, good for them. Good by their standards. Yes, I agree with you. But no, they are not a good football team. Like, not really good. They're slightly above average and have gotten lucky by not having to play anyone decent yet.
I think we might just have different definitions of what good.
Probably. Yeah.
Really
no, that's.
Mean. I generally would say playoff is for great teams, and then really good teams are like the top 10, and then good teams. Most years, actually, there's not a monstrous range, I would say, from like 15 to 40.
Right. Yeah. Right.
All of those can be considered good to decent football
teams. That's fair.
So
Iowa, which is right now 19 in this new AP poll, and granted, there's no love lost between me and Iowa or their fans, but like Iowa would beat Wake Forest. And wouldn't that just be awesome? That kind of game there where it would just be total opposites, like absolute opposites. Like, so North Carolina, when they played like on Saturday, both teams were quite okay with just chucking the ball. Like, we're going to try to score 60. The first one to 60 wins. They didn't quite get to 60, but they almost did. Now, like, Iowa would just be like running the ball, and that would just be crazy. Like, I don't know how that one would go, but it would be must-watch TV. And I think Iowa would probably win that one. I think I would pick Iowa.
Where is Iowa getting the 3 touchdowns they're going to need to win that game?
Well, they may not. Hey, I think Wake Forest's defense is very bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's not good.
Even
Can they
if,
stop the run at all? Can they stop the run at all?
but here's the
You can
thing,
say what you
though.
want. Say what you want about Iowa. They have NFL offensive linemen and will push people. And Wake Forest is quite easily pushed.
Here's the issue with that is that Wake Forest's offense is good enough. They're going to score in the 30s. They have scored at least 35. They're the only school in the country that has scored at least 35 in every single game this season. They're going to at least get close to 30, like against even a really good Iowa defense. It's a very good defense. Great offenses like that, they find a way to at least put up 4 touchdowns. Generally speaking, if you're not playing Georgia. And Iowa's defense is not Georgia's defense. It's very good.
A&M would run Wake Forest off the field.
Okay, you changed the conversation. You might be right, but
That's
we're
the
talking
same
about
defense.
Iowa.
I think they would shut them down. I think Iowa's defense could possibly shut them down too.
I feel like Iowa would have a harder time scoring against Wake Forest than Texas A&M would.
Sure. Yes. No. That's valid. But I'm saying that they would not give up many points. Like once you get out, I think Wake Forest. We'll see. It remains to be seen what they do against Clemson's defense and NC State's defense. If they put up 30 on Clemson, like I'm impressed.
Sure.
I don't.
That's fair.
I won't believe it until then. I really won't.
All right. Let's move on.
Okay.
The number 1 team, Georgia, they beat Missouri 43-6. If you were not a Georgia fan, I don't know that I would bother mentioning this game.
Yes, sure.
But there are a few things here to talk about. Like we did actually see some JT Daniels. He did play a little bit. Wasn't bad. 7 for 10, touchdown and a pick.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you have quarterback thoughts? And then just general. I mean, we know that Georgia is the best team in the country right now. We know we know they have a historically great defense. What are your big picture thoughts, and do you think that the quarterback will change going forward?
I mean, so my quarterback thoughts okay, we all know it. Like, I mean, I'm a JT Daniels guy. I think that throwing the ball and arm talent and decision making and accuracy matters. And like, I understand that he had one bad throw and it wasn't great, but like okay, so George is going to go up against somebody who's going to figure out something in that defense. I don't think you can go all year with the modern day rules and just bludgeon everyone with just your defense. Like there's a lot of games where Georgia could legitimately take knees, just kneel the ball every play on offense and squeak out of there with, like a 7-6 win. Like that's happened multiple times where they're like against Clemson, they could have taken a kneel down every single offensive play and won that football game. And like it's going to happen where someone's going to get after it. Like someone's going to figure something out, and it's going like Georgia's going to have some kind of game where they have to put up like 28 or 30 points against a really good defense. Like I just think that's going to happen. I really do. Whether it's Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, someone's going to do that. And I just don't think Stetson's the guy. Like, yeah. And because he's proving me wrong every week, because he throws the ball quite well. Like yesterday, again, Missouri's terrible defense, but like he made some nice throws now and then, and kind of like, yeah, it's like he's not bad.
Who's the best quarterback you feel Georgia has faced this year so far?
Either DJ or Richardson from Florida.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I think next week when Tennessee, Georgia goes to Tennessee,
Hendon Hooker
and Hendon Hooker, I think he'll probably be better than those two. But to this point, yeah, I would argue it was either DJ or AR-15.
Do you think Tennessee will have the best offense Georgia has faced so far this year?
No question. Yeah.
So maybe we'll actually
Clemson
have
has nothing to say.
We have maybe some things to learn about that Tennessee game. Obviously, Georgia's still quite a bit better than Tennessee and should win by a lot, but it will be interesting to see if a good offense can move the ball a little bit. Can they get 2 touchdowns? Can they score 17 points?
Yeah. They can probably score 17, but I wouldn't bet on them to score 20. Like, does that make sense? Like, I don't think they're getting to 20. And it's because, like, Georgia makes you completely one-dimensional. Like, you have to, like, because there's 3, they play 3 or 4 defensive linemen, and, like, it's like running into a brick wall. Like, you can't run the ball against Georgia, and they can stop it with 4 guys. And so they can just pass, like they'll just pass rush you to death and play zone, like and like just they'll just kind of like wait for you to make a mistake, and they're like they're aggressive and fast when you do make a mistake, and they enjoy forcing mistakes. So yeah, I do not think that Tennessee will get to 20, and
Yeah.
I mean credit to them if they do. They do have a good offense. Tennessee does have a good offense, but like I don't see it happening.
Part of the reason I mentioned the 2 touchdowns thing is the most points Georgia has allowed this year is 13 to South Carolina and to Kentucky.
Yeah.
So it would be notable to see if a decent offense can do a little better than that.
Right.
Obviously, it's going to take more than that to beat Georgia.
Yeah.
But if we see just a few teeny little cracks in the foundation, maybe there's a chance for Bama or Ohio State or Oklahoma.
There's a chance, especially if we're still starting Stetson Bennett at the time. I was assured, by the way, I was promised that as soon as JT got healthy, like he's going to be right back in there. And that's what, like, I was upset the whole time. Like I've ranted on this podcast since like literally week 2 or 3. Like, why is Stetson playing? Why is Stetson playing? Like, I don't understand this. I do not get it. And I was told, hey, just relax. It's going to be as soon as JT's healthy, he's going to go right back in there. But no, like he's healthy now. He's healthy, and he still isn't starting. And
I think you have to feel good about the fact that they actually did play him and give him some reps. Like, is there a chance they're just gradually going to work him back in till he's the starter again?
He's not going to start until Georgia loses. I mean, let's be honest. He will not start until Georgia loses, and that's my point. Like, I think it's going to be too late because I think if they do lose, it's probably going to be in the playoff. I hope we lose to Alabama in the SEC championship, and then we can like make changes after that. I just the stubbornness from this coaching staff is just unparalleled, and it's very frustrating to watch because like we've seen this before. And by the way, Kirby talks about like we need running quarterbacks now, like the running dynamic matters. It didn't matter when you had to choose between Fromm and Fields. It didn't matter then. It's like, why does it matter now? Like, I think you just enjoy taking the guy that's under talented at quarterback so that it can make you look better, make your defense I don't understand it. It's very frustrating, and he deserves this. He deserves a ton of scrutiny if he messes up this defense. Like, if he ruins this defense's season because Georgia can't put up 21 points against a fairly good, say, Ohio State team because they just have no answers on offense, that is on Kirby, because he knows that there's going to have to be a game or two where he's going to have to put up 21 or 28 points to win. And we're talented everywhere else. Like, it's the quarterback. Like, I think it's the quarterback. We'll see.
Yes. Okay. Ole Miss beats Liberty 27-14. Never was very close. Ole Miss kind of came out and did their thing, and their defense actually played very well. Like I was surprised they held Liberty to 14.
Right.
This was one of your locks. You had Liberty +9, and they
Yes, I did.
should have covered. Like, they really should have.
Yes, they should have.
They were actually driving at the end of the game and threw a bad interception in the end zone, kind of just a desperation heave. When a touchdown would have given you the backdoor cover. So
missed a couple of field goals also.
Goals.
That was
But putting the lock aside, Ole Miss is like, they're good. Like, they're and it's going to be interesting to see how they close this out. Like, can they have a 10-2 type of season, or is this more of an 8-4? Well, they were good for most of the season, whatever.
We're going to find out this weekend. They have the 7:00 game against A&M when A&M comes to their place, and I think we're gonna find out about Ole Miss because A&M's real.
That's going to be a very big game.
It will be. It'll be very loud there. It's going to be in Ole Miss, so like at least it's a home game for them. But like that's going to be a very big gut check because they're going to get punched in the mouth by A&M. Mm-hmm. So I think it to be determined on Ole Miss about how real they are, but they are good. You're right. They would beat Wake Forest. Like, they're that kind of good. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if they can. I don't know if they're at the A&M level yet.
Speaking of A&M, they just beat Auburn 20-3. To me, this felt like a bit of a toss-up going in. Hence my log on Auburn at +5. Clearly on the wrong side there. A&M, huge weekend for them, both on the field and just destroying Auburn defensively. Like, Bo Nix became Bo Nix again.
Yeah. Yes, he
did. But also a big weekend on the recruiting trail. The big name there, Walter Nolan. the number 2 player, I believe, in the country, top
He is.
defensive lineman, committed to Texas A&M.
Yes.
A&M is on the verge, by the way, of having maybe the best defensive line class in history coming in next year. So
They do.
just something to keep an eye on. But yeah, A&M beats Auburn 20-3. Wasn't super exciting to watch, I would say. Like, they didn't do anything on offense like particularly well. Auburn's defense was playing pretty well as well, but hey, they were just better. Squeezed the life out of Auburn, eventually won it 20-3. Is there a reason to think A&M could win out?
Oh, easy. I mean, so all they have left is Ole Miss, and then they play some school called Prairie View. Like, who's ever heard of them? Prairie View. So that's going to be a bludgeoning. And then they finish up with LSU, it'll be Coach O's last game, in all likelihood. So yes, absolutely, very good chance they could win out. By the way, if Alabama loses to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, LSU gets into the SEC championship, and Bama gets left.
That is crazy.
That is interesting there.
I think you said LSU. You meant A&M, correct? Yeah.
Did I? Oh, yes. Sorry. Texas A&M goes to the SEC championship if Auburn beats Alabama, and then yeah, by virtue of tiebreaker, A&M gets to Atlanta.
How upset is A&M about that Mississippi State loss?
Yeah, very. They have to be very pissed
because the way everyone is playing, other than Georgia in the country, like
yes, I know.
They would have such a good chance of going to the playoff, winning the SEC, all of that.
Yes, they would. They would have. And by the way, all they really needed to do against Mississippi State is like run the ball. Like, they decided 1 week too late to run the ball a bit, and yeah, I don't know. Like, and it was a look ahead game. I know they played Alabama the next week. Like, I understand that they played Alabama, but like, it was a home game for A&M. Like, it wasn't like you went on the road and like you got really punched in the face early. Like, this was A&M is significantly more talented than Mississippi State. Significantly more talented. And yeah, lost by 4. So, yeah. Hey, but all that said, they just need one loss from Bama yet, and they get in.
Okay, Cincinnati 28, Tulsa 20. We talked about this one just a little bit earlier. Game day was there, which was kind of a weird choice, I think, for a Cincinnati game, facing Tulsa.
Yeah.
Who is not nearly as good as they were last year. Although now they've put up fights a couple times. You mentioned against Ohio State, now against Cincy.
Yeah. Is
this just a good fight from Tulsa, or are there like serious questions about Cincinnati in your opinion?
I don't. I'm not sure. I'm not. Okay, so there are questions about Cincinnati, sure, but like anymore, like that's not even a bad thing because like there's questions about everybody.
Yep.
So like, yeah, how are you to say how dare you for playing Tulsa close when like Ohio State's done the same thing? Oklahoma State actually and Tulsa were in that was just a real fist fight as well. Like you've seen a bunch of other schools struggle. So yeah, I don't go into that just a whole lot because yeah, did they struggle? Sure, but like were they the better team? Yeah, they were. And yeah, I don't know. If Cincinnati goes undefeated, given all the other games that are to be played yet in the major conferences, they're in and they probably shouldn't have to worry about it. I don't think. Like that's kind of my closet view. Like I understand that they're ranked 6 right now by the CFP, and like we have to see yet tomorrow night where they rank them now. But like I think that if they go undefeated, they have a very, very good chance of getting in. Like an extremely good chance. So just win your games.
According to 538, if they win out, they have a 62% chance of making the playoff.
Yeah.
Now they still have to win out. And the way they've been playing the last 3 weeks, if they continue to play that way, they might actually lose.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. TCU 30, Baylor 28. Who was number 12 Baylor in the college football playoff rankings. TCU, this is their first game after Gary Patterson is fired / steps down, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
I guess, is this win-win for Gary Patterson and TCU brings something out? And their quarterback played really well, I understand. Or is this more like Baylor was clearly not number 12 and this was just them losing to a team that's probably better than them? Or is it a combination of all of that?
Or is it all of those and Baylor was also looking ahead to next week when Oklahoma goes to Baylor? Like, I think it's probably more that than anything else because they absolutely should have beat TCU, who just lost their head coach and like kind of their icon. Gary Patterson was TCU football like for the last, what was it, like 20 years? Like he has a statue on campus. Like so he
Yeah.
and then he's gone. Like he didn't coach this game. Like I don't understand, like now we're gonna win one for Gary Patterson. Like I don't really understand that. So like I mean it could have been like maybe, yeah, who knows what, how players play for, pride or whatnot. But I think more the majority of it was this is a game we should win and roll through, and we have Oklahoma coming next week. We're already studying on Oklahoma. I think it was more that, and they got caught up.
So you're saying maybe they should have won one for Gary Patterson earlier when he was still their coach?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's a bold strategy. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Number 10, Notre Dame 34, Navy 6. Just thought I'd mention this because it's one of the few top 10 teams that actually took care of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a little shaky start. Like they didn't score in the first quarter.
Yeah.
But it was the first time since I think it was like the 90s that they didn't let Navy score a touchdown, and they play every year,
right,
when there's not COVID. So
right, yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed by Marcus Freeman. Notre Dame's defense has been a little bit lackluster the last several weeks, especially since they lost Kyle Hamilton.
Sure.
And Navy's no one special. Like, I'm not saying that. But a week ago, they almost beat Cincinnati. And Notre Dame did what they were supposed to do, completely stifled their offense, and finally figured some things out on offense themselves, put up 34 points. Not overly impressive, but they took care of business on a day when most top 10 teams did not.
Yeah, and that matters. That matters. Like you beat up on Navy. I understand. Like this game was 17-6 in the fourth quarter. Like so, I mean, not like you just blew them out, but you did take care of business. Like there was no chance that Navy was going to win that football game. So hey, and it's better than you can say for, like you said, in almost any other top 10 team not named Georgia. So yeah, it's an impressive win, and you'll actually probably get a few. Maybe you might jump a few people. Who knows?
I think if I was putting it together, I'd have us at 7. I already told you my top 6 right now. I think I'd probably have Notre Dame at 7 right now, which I believe is where the AP just has Notre Dame at 7.
Okay. Yep.
So I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Speaking of top 10 teams, underwhelming. Michigan State. It could be so much worse right now. It could be Michigan State. Michigan State. They lost to Purdue. Everyone and their mother had this on upset watch, and sure enough, the spoiler makers come through. Purdue beats Michigan State 40-29.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just as simple as Purdue has an offense that's on fire right now, and Michigan State's not all that great?
Goodness.
Or is there some letdown here from coming off that Michigan win?
Sure. Yeah. There's no excuse to getting like this game could have been way worse. Like Purdue blew the doors off of Michigan State. Like they kicked a couple of field goals there. Like that could have been touchdowns. Like I think they actually missed some field goals if I remember. Yeah, they kicked 3 in a row actually. Like in the third, they kicked 4 field goals. That game could have been an absolute blowout if they convert even just 2 or 3 of those to touchdowns. And it kind of was anyway. Like you realize like we kind of start tuning in because the number 3 team is down, so like you're watching just to kind of see like what happens, and you realize like no, there's a better chance of Purdue running away with this than there is Michigan State catching up. So and yeah, I mean they gave up 500 yards of passing to like Aiden O'Connell, is that his name? Like yeah, have you ever heard of him? Yeah, he was 40 of 54 for 536 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. So Michigan State cannot defend the pass, which is going to come in real handy when you play Ohio State here in 2 weeks. Let's just leave that one alone. Hey, to be fair, like David Bell, the receiver for Purdue, is a baller, and he just balls out on everyone.
He is.
So let's at least give him his due. He had 217 yards, a touchdown. So yeah, I don't know, not a whole lot to say here. Michigan State was fraudulent.
Purdue's post-game win expectancy was 83.5%, which tells you that it's not like they got lucky here or anything. Like like you said, they straight up won this game. They were the better team in this game.
They were. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Tennis. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Jeff Brom, real quick. He was kind of like low key on it wasn't a hot seat, but it was mildly warm. It was because he hadn't had success in a couple of years, and he's come out and he's beat Iowa and then Michigan State. Like They're a good team. They're 6-3 now, and like they're
Yes.
probably going to be ranked in this next poll in the CFP poll. Hopefully, they should be. So like credit to him. That's a real turnaround. Like really good year for him.
Feels like they and Indiana sort of switched spots this year.
Yeah, kind of.
The rivals
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, solid job by them. All right, Tennessee 45, Kentucky 42. Yeah, I'm trying to think. This was one we were talking about a lot in our preview pod. We would have liked this where the line started with Kentucky being favored by several points. And it ended up Tennessee was favored by 1, and they won by 3, so they got close to right there.
Right. Yeah.
Tennessee, like, just they had the ball for less than 20 minutes, and this is just proof that that's kind of a stupid stat.
They had 13 minutes, almost 14 minutes of time of possession.
Yes.
Kentucky had 46.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
anytime someone tells you how important time of possession is,
Kentucky had 35 first downs, though. 35 first downs.
yes. But you know what's more
And
important
lost.
than that is points.
Well, no, I understand that, but
and yards per play is also very important. And Tennessee was just getting, they had like, I think before the kneel downs at the end of the game, they were over 10 yards per play. Literally.
yeah, no,
which is
I understand.
insane.
I get it, but
They
like,
dominated. They
Kentucky had
dominated
600
Kentucky's
yards.
defense.
They did. No, they did. But Kentucky had 600 yards of offense themselves. Like
Yeah.
600 yards of offense. They had, I think how many plays? It's terrifying to even look
It was
at
like
the plays.
99 or 91 or something.
Yeah, no, I think it was 98 or 99 plays. And that is just like, and you lost. Like baffling, baffling.
Okay, Alabama LSU. This was the big evening one that I expected to watch 0 of this, basically, or maybe a little bit in the first half until Alabama pulled away big.
Right.
We're talking about an LSU coaching staff that knows their jobs are over at the end of the year.
No.
An LSU team that is losing like 98 players or something. And they had 3 chances in the fourth quarter to win this game. What is this? Is this about LSU like fighting and being still really talented and being really good, or is this more about? Clearly, I think we'd probably agree this was like red flags for Alabama, not?
Yes, and yes. Like for one, Coach O is the best like
Interim coach.
head coach of all time. Like he really is. Like I did see like a couple funny tweets. You can go on Twitter and like scroll through it, and it's like with this win, like Coach O puts himself in prime position for the LSU job, and it was like like he kind of does, like because they have nobody. LSU has nobody left, especially on defense. That like we've talked about their injuries. They've been hit hard, like just on injuries. Their 4 best defensive backs have all had surgery. Like. But they still came out and balled, and like they played their tail off. They got after the quarterback. By the way, their defensive line was like just a total mismatch for the Alabama offensive line. Like Alabama could not run the ball at all, not even a little bit. I think they had 6 yards of rushing. That's factoring in sacks, sure, but like 6 yards of rushing. They gave up a sack late, and they got a fumble. Like LSU recovered a fumble in plus territory with a chance to like go ahead. That's with 3 minutes left. Like, how do you give up? Like that's so un-Alabama like. Like when does that ever happen to Alabama that they give up a sack, strip fumble late in a game that like it's a 1-score, it's a 6-point game. Like and LSU had multiple chances to go and win it. And if LSU has even just a resemblance of Offensive cohesion, like they win that game because LSU was the better team that day.
Yeah. Is this a sign that like can we just add Alabama to the list of teams that's going to be looking for a new offensive line coach this offseason? Doug Marrone, the former NFL head coach, is their offensive line coach. Bill O'Brien, another former NFL head coach, is their offensive coordinator. Yeah. Is this like the first time where some of Saban's hires just didn't work out?
I mean, yeah.
Because to recap,
it is.
They put up 20 points against an LSU team that is missing like their stars on defense.
All of them.
Literally.
Yeah. No, they're missing Eli Ricks. They're missing Derek Stingley, Major Burns, who is their starting safety, Flott, who is he's like he was their nickel corner, and then he became like their regular corner once Stingley and Ricks got hurt, and he balled, and now he's hurt too. So like they had no one good left in like on defense.
Yeah,
And completely dominated.
you've talked multiple times this year about how LSU's linebackers still have yet to make a correct run fit.
Right.
And like you said, what, 6 rushing yards for Alabama?
6 yards. Yeah.
Some of this has to be on the coaching, right?
Absolutely. But okay. So hasn't this kind of happened before? Like even some of the first years under Lane Kiffin, like when he was first there, like he was not liked by Alabama fans, and like it didn't really work. Like it really didn't work. I think it's my theory that they're used to Tua and Mac and Jalen throwing the ball to all these first round NFL receivers and like just being able to get separation. And now that's kind of gone. Like it's kind of gone a little bit. And like they no longer have guys just running free. Like they don't have Jerry Jeudy anymore that is just always going to get open underneath. So yeah, and they don't have the speed of like Waddle and Ruggs. Like I don't know.
Jameson Williams.
Well, okay, but he's not the same. Jamison Williams is not the same as Devontae Smith or Jerry Jeudy.
Sure.
Like, and that's unfair. Like, it's unfair to call him that. But like, once you have, Devontae Smith had probably the best receiving like year of anyone in my lifetime, like last year.
Your theory basically is that the talent was so overwhelming that it almost didn't matter what the offense was like. The offensive system was like the last several years.
Maybe, and you combine that with Sark leaving as well.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's a lack of ideas. Like there's a lack of ideas, and they haven't run the ball really not well in a while, right? So now what do we do? Is kind of maybe more. And by the way, they're fine. Like they won, and they could easily win a national championship this year.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
no one talks about that. They could easily win a national championship this year, which is terrifying. But yeah, like it does feel like a lot of it's on coaching, and just like Sark leaving, like it left some holes, and O'Brien has not been able to seamlessly fit in as so many other coordinators have in years past.
Sure. Okay, I have a few games here to mention that aren't super relevant on the national stage or anything, but
Can we talk about Florida? Let's talk about Florida.
we will. We'll get there.
Okay. All right.
Iowa State beats Texas 30-7 after being
Yes.
behind. Texas once again is winning at halftime. Clemson beats Louisville 30-24.
Great game.
Clemson
great
escapes Louisville
It's a great game.
in the last minute, which is just a thing that keeps happening.
Right.
Michigan beats Indiana 29-7.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on any of these games? Anything that stood out to you?
The Clemson game
Okay.
was like Clemson's just who they are now, and like the nice thing is like they've kind of embraced it. Like they know like we're gonna be in a fist fight every single week, and
Yeah.
like we might win, we might not, but like we're not getting better. Like we're not just gonna magically get back to where we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like this is who we are. And we're gonna have to play our tail off to beat Louisville, and probably could have easily have lost that game. So yeah, it's fun to watch. Like it is like, and I think to their credit, like the players are fighting. Like we've seen the difference. There's a difference between Clemson's players and Florida's players.
Yes.
And I know we're gonna get to Florida in a little bit, but one team quit and Clemson did not quit because they've been faced with so much adversity this year. And like they fight, like they do fight. So you can say what you can dislike the offensive cohesion, you can dislike the play calling, the quarterback play, and you'd have a fair points on all of it. But they fight, like they haven't given up, and like they're winning games that maybe they shouldn't just by like pure will, and like they do have a ton of talent still. Like let's not act like they're out of talent, but like. They haven't given up because this is a massive failure by Clemson standards, and they go out and get in a fist fight every week, and like that's fun to watch. Credit to them.
Sure. They now have covered 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I know. They were. What were they? I think they were what 0-7 to start the year.
Yeah, now they're 2-7. So hey, maybe this is just like it's reverting to the mean now. Like they might finish 5-7. Wouldn't be shocked if they finish 5-7 against the spread.
What's their record, by the way? What is Clemson's
They
record?
have 3 losses, so I guess
Okay.
that would make them 6-3.
Yeah, they're
Hey, they're
6-3.
bowl eligible.
They
Oh, that was not kind. I'm
That's
sorry.
not nice. Wow, that
Too
was
harsh.
uncalled for. That they get UConn this week, home game against UConn.
Oh yeah, that.
Okay, hey,
No one's gonna
okay,
watch that.
no one's gonna watch. It might be close though. Who? No, it won't be close. Never mind, UConn. Clemson gets Wake Forest in 2 weeks.
Yes.
That'll be fun. And
Yes.
then they finish up. Going to South Carolina, which must watch TV. That will just be must watch TV. Yeah, first year coach versus Dabo, like Shane Beamer
Yes.
versus Dabo. Like, I don't know. I'm here for all of it because that one is going to be we talk about fist fights. That's going to be just a brawl right there. That's going to be fun.
There's a real chance that.
Oh yeah.
South Carolina
Oh yeah.
wins.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh for sure. Did you watch South Carolina over the weekend?
I did not, but it was to the point where I was like, I should maybe check that score. And then by that point, the score was so far apart. I was like, well, what's the point? Like,
It was 40-10. I'm enjoying it so much. It's bad.
oh man. All right, let's cover one more game before we get there.
Okay. All right.
Oregon escapes against Washington, 26-16.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just to recap, for those who did not catch it, Oregon was up by 8 with just under 2 minutes left. So here's the situation. Washington has 4th and 10, I believe, at like their own 10-yard line. With under 2 minutes left, they have 2 timeouts left. So your options are go for it on 4th and 10 because you're under 2 minutes left and you only have 2 timeouts left. Or punt it, hoping to get the ball back with inside the 20 most likely, with 0 timeouts, needing a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and being under a minute for sure. Like at that point, like if everything goes perfectly in that situation on a punt, you're getting the ball back, needing 80 yards, and you have to do it in like 40 seconds with no timeouts. The correct call is absolutely to go for it on 4th and 10. It's not like it's 4th and 30, it's 4th and 10. Trust your offense, trust your quarterback to make one throw. Washington decides to punt. Their long snapper immediately snaps it over the punter's head and out of bounds for a safety, putting them down by 2 scores. They end up losing by 10 points.
Game over.
Game over. Absolutely what you deserve. And guess what? Washington today is Monday, by the way. I don't know if did they fire John Donovan today or yesterday? It doesn't matter.
I think it was today. Yeah, it was today.
They fired their offensive coordinator after this game.
Yeah.
Never should have hired him in the first place. Terrible hire. Never worked out anywhere, really. Is this purely John Donovan, or do you think Jimmy Lake's seat is like getting warm because their offense has been complete trash all year?
Yeah. Let's not forget, Washington's smarter than us, Vince. Like we don't understand. See, like we don't understand because it's not the same thing, right? Because this is like the new analytics. We're gonna punt from deep. No, like I think when I was watching that game and he snapped the ball over his head, and I wasn't really even paying attention, and it was just like that had to be intentional. Like is there some kind of math I'm missing? And I was like, no, that's 9. Like it's 2 possession. Like I don't understand.
It makes it 10 when it was 8.
I don't get it. It's like it just made no sense to me at all, and like it was just blowing my mind. And then it was like you just sit there and laugh at it. Like once you realize like they tried to be so smart. Like I think they're like going full on galaxy brain. Like we're gonna punt from here. Yeah, it made no sense, and it's laughable because just earlier this week, Jimmy Lake's like, we're pretty much an Ivy League school. Like we're so smart. We're
Basically,
so smart.
yeah. He was
he
talking
did.
about how smart they were, and
how dumb Oregon was. Yeah,
recruiting wise, they recruit against Stanford and Notre Dame, not because
Oregon.
they're more on the academic level of Washington, not like lowly Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to talk about how smart you are, maybe don't make a stupid decision like that.
No, I know. it was just so like just poetic justice.
It was. It
for
really
all
was.
for all the coaches that I think Mullen was another one. Like he tried to be kind of like, oh, I'm up here. Oh, like look at me, like how smart I am. Like I'm gonna get an NFL job. Look at me. And it was like, and then you see like their teams just like. They both lost, and it was disgraceful. Like both losses were disgraceful. Yeah. And by the way, Jimmy Lake's seat, it better start heating up
Oh
Like
yeah.
you shouldn't be allowed to say dumb stuff like that at a big, like Washington's a good job. It's a really good job.
Mhm.
You should not be able to say dumb stuff like that and then go out and do dumb stuff like that on the field and not like have a serious amount of criticism.
I think that he's got to make an offensive coordinator hire, and that will determine if he's still the coach there in 2 years or not.
Yeah,
Like,
agreed, agreed.
absolutely, he needs to nail it. On Oregon's end, do you have any major takeaways? You could be a little hard on them because they only beat Washington by 10, but then again, like there's a number of teams in the top 10 that were worse probably
Yeah, I
this
mean,
weekend. So,
it's
is
a
it
10
fair to
point win.
just
I
say like,
mean,
is it fair to say stock neutral on this one?
yeah, I mean, for me, it is like it's a 10 point win, which like you don't have to worry because Alabama won by 6 and Ohio State won by 9. So like,
Yeah.
and the Michigan State lost and like they were ranked ahead of you. So like, yeah, 10 point win feels, oh, that's comfortable.
Yeah.
We don't even like this week, 10 point win was like freaking wonderful. So yeah, I don't know. They're going to be okay. Like, their running back, had 211 yards of rushing. Like that makes you feel a little bit better because that's what Oregon is. Like they're that running team. And
Yeah.
like when CJ Verdell is out for the year, right, and he's injured, and like you kind of wondered, like, ooh, can Dye pick up the pace? And like he is. So that in that way, it makes me feel better. Maybe not reflected in the score as much, but they are running the ball and well. So like that's a good thing.
Will Mario Cristobal be the Ducks coach next year?
Oh, come on. Um,
And I'm just throwing out some options here: USC, LSU,
Florida, Florida,
Florida.
Florida, Florida. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, yeah. I think
That's
he's an
interesting.
SEC guy. I think he's an SEC guy and could quite easily be in really any of those jobs. You could see him going to USC.
Hmm.
And like by the way, yeah, the rumors about his wife not liking Eugene, Oregon, like there's something to that, and like that matters. So
Sure.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm saying no.
All right, you've been wanting to talk about it the entire podcast.
Yes, I
It's our
have.
last game to talk about now. South
Yeah.
Carolina 40, Florida 17. What
Yeah.
in tarnation?
This is so much fun. I watched so much of this game. I was looking forward to it like all week. I didn't put it in the games to watch, just because like it's Florida. Like they're both 4-4. Like they both were not good, and oh my goodness, it was. I should have absolutely put it in the top 5 because this was okay. Florida absolutely quit. Florida absolutely quit. And just to cap off this thing by Dan Mullen, like, by the way, he said, like the previous Monday that, we recruit during recruiting season. This is game week. We play football on game weeks. So my question to him would be like, what did you do this past week? Because this was also a game week and you didn't play football on it. So like, just to get run off the field like that, again, it's similar to Jimmy Lake, like just these smart guys, like they try to be smarter than the room. I think like they're trying so hard to be like just this genius, and they kind of like almost like kind of like brush off their shoulders at like the dumb coaches like Mario Cristobal or Shane Beamer or whatever, and then like these kind of like these young coaches just come out and hand it to them. Like South Carolina absolutely handed it to them. South Carolina hasn't scored more, I think, than 23 points all year. Correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I think it's 23 points was their maximum point scored all year. They had 30 at half. It was 40-10 early in the third quarter. It could have been worse. Like I feel like South Carolina like almost was just like, okay, like they're not moving anymore. Let's just like leave. And I was impressed with everything. Florida's defense blew assignments. There was a touchdown where like they threw a touchdown. I believe it was on a 4th and short, deep in Gators territory, where Josh Vann, who is the South Carolina's best receiver by a long shot, was literally like there was no one else on the screen. He caught the ball standing in the end zone, and there was literally no other people on the field. No South Carolina defender or receivers, and no Florida defenders. No one was there. That's hard to do. Todd Grantham has lost his job since then.
Yes.
And that was deserved. I mean, yeah,
Right.
again, 2 years too late, probably you could argue, but I don't know where Florida goes. Mullen seems to have checked out. Like I don't know what I've been following it a lot. Like I watch almost every press conference, which by the way is comedy gold. Like if you want to laugh about something, go watch Dan Mullen's pressers after a good loss, like just a beating, and like he's gonna try to explain it away. For a while, like the thing was like we're outgaining people, like oh we're actually playing better because we're actually outgaining them, and it's like no one cares. Like you have to actually score more points. So yeah, I just be curious. Also, Anthony Richardson, he hurt himself on Friday night because he was dancing.
Yes, I did hear that.
That came out. He was dancing. So
yes,
yeah. It's just good times at Florida. Like, you know that meme of like, or I think it's like a GIF actually of a guy like he's like walking away from the fire, like the fiery house behind him is like nothing to see here. That's exactly what's happening on in Gainesville, and I'm just here for all of it. Just really enjoying this. This was one of the most fun football games I've watched in a long time, and yeah, Georgia was not even involved. This was just a blast to see the smug guy just absolutely get it handed to him.
So how good would Team X be with Dan Mullen at offensive coordinator and Jimmy Lake at defensive coordinator, and a head coach that makes sure they never ever talk to the press?
They, like never like we're okay. Are they allowed?
Maybe like 3 times a year they have a little bit.
Yeah,
but not weekly for sure.
Right. Like
because they have both been very successful coordinators in the past.
No question.
Yes.
By the way, okay, sorry. I'm going to get back on the soapbox a little bit. We have consistently put Dan Mullen as a top 10 coach in college football.
Yes.
Consistently, the job he's done at Mississippi State, they have nothing as a program. Like Mike Leach had him ranked last week. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe they're not trash. Like maybe Mississippi State's a decent program. Maybe Mullen is like vastly overrated. He's paid more than Kirby Smart is. Dan Mullen is paid more than Kirby Smart and is viewed as the better coach. Most people would tell you that Dan Mullen is a better coach than Kirby Smart.
Not right now, no.
But before this year, they did.
No, most of the list still had Kirby ahead of Mullen.
No, I'm gonna fight you on that one because Dan Mullen he is a media darling because I was listening to a pod today after this loss, 40-17 to South Carolina. After this loss, there were people saying, "Well, he's an NFL head coach. He should go take an NFL job." Like, they don't want him. Why would you want that? Like so his players can quit on him too? You can't teach not quit. Like quitting's the thing. Like that's a real thing. And this Florida team quit, and that matters. Like this is why like you're actually impressed with Clemson because like this year hasn't turned out for Clemson, but like they're still fighting. Like they're competing. They could have easily have given up and lost that game to Louisville and didn't. And like this Florida team would fold like a cheap suit against like if they were faced with that kind of adversity late in the game.
So it's interesting that you brought them up because that was actually one place I thought of. If Dan Mullen were to lose his job.
Oh my goodness, please don't go there.
Clemson needs an offensive coordinator. I'm telling you.
They do, but Dabo and Dan Mullen, please. Like
but
they would not work. They would not work.
Dabo has the cachet to be the boss of Dan Mullen and tell him to shut up and do his job.
Yeah.
And the players won't be playing for Dan Mullen; they'll be playing for Dabo, so they won't be quitting.
Right.
Which helps.
That does. No,
you're probably right. Like the personalities probably wouldn't mesh at all. But I think it would be very interesting to say the absolute least about that potential pairing. Like it would be fun.
Kirby Smart should offer Mara offensive coordinator position. Just see what happens. No, I would actually be worried. Like if you get Dabo and Mullen together, like that's scary. They have really very
different things they're good at, and I think it could their skill sets could really work well together.
They would complement each other tremendously, but I don't think they could stand each other.
Yeah.
I don't think they could stand each other at all because I don't think anyone can stand Dan Mullen. And like I think that's like common knowledge, really. Like just not well liked. So, hey, who's going to be so he's going to be coaching next year. Will he be coaching at Florida next year? Mullen.
Dan Mullen?
Yes.
What's his buyout? I shouldn't even ask that. It doesn't even matter anymore.
$12 million.
Yeah, and some of these big programs, they don't care. They don't care what it is. No. It could be $50 million and they wouldn't care.
It's only $6 up front. $6 million up front and then $1 million a year for like the next 6 years.
Yeah. That's
like
just
layaway plan.
That's like 3 boosters away easily.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
Oh man. Will Dan Mullen be Florida? I'm gonna say no.
Me too.
It's just it'd be one thing if they went 7-5 this year. They have to win out to go 7-5, like literally. I don't know, man. Like I think it's almost more likely that they miss a bowl game than go 7-5. Literally,
They might lose to Florida State.
they
They might lose
might.
to Florida State. Yeah,
Florida State at least plays hard most of the
they do.
time.
I know. No, I know.
What's the rest of their schedule? Florida.
They play Samford, and then they get Missouri at home,
Ooh.
and then right, and then they go to Florida State, right?
So assuming they beat Samford,
No, sorry, they go to Missouri, and then they get Florida State.
they just have to beat either Mizzou or Florida State.
Yeah.
So they could pretty easily still finish 7-5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think
But if they can't beat South Carolina, who are they going to beat?
Yeah, let me look at their SP Plus win probabilities for the season. They're most likely to finish 7-5. 54% chance,
Yeah, but last week that thing would have said 8-4 last week.
probably.
Like this thing's disintegrated.
Yeah, you're right.
And unless hey, maybe the defensive coordinator makes a huge difference, but I don't know if the problem's on defense. And hey, by the way, Dan Mullen, he fired his offensive line coach. Coming into this game, Florida led all Power 5 teams in rushing. That's not really fair. I'm not a huge Florida guy.
So
anyway,
in other words,
ridiculous.
he is trying to convince the athletic director now and for the next month, this is not on me. This is on my terrible coaching.
He's
staff.
sacrificing people. Yeah, he is sacrificing people.
So I guess the question is, will that work or not?
I don't know. It's a pipe dream if he thinks he can get an NFL job at this point because who wants him? My goodness.
Sure. Okay, I think that's going to do it. I think for our reaction pod, that was week 10. Another crazy week. It's been a great year. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts for the people?
Yeah, hit us back maybe with who is the best 4 teams in the country.
There you go.
And your logic for putting them that way. Who is the best 4 teams in the country, and what is your logic for ranking them? Because I don't think anyone really agrees. And by the way, the committee, we kind of scoff at the committee, and they make mistakes, but this year is extreme. This year is impossible for the committee. Unless they get lucky and a couple of teams really kind of beat everyone else. If Ohio State goes and runs the table, that's easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if Alabama goes and beats everyone except and even beats Georgia, then that's easy. That's 3 of your teams: Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. And if Oklahoma goes undefeated, maybe. But I just don't see that happening at all. And I think it's gonna be really hard for them to decide.
I have a feeling there's going to be a pretty easy top 4 by the end of this thing, just because so much attrition is going to happen yet.
A lot of losses. There's going to be a lot of losses left. A lot of losses.
Yes.
We're acting like it's starting tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of losses left.
For sure.
Ohio State's going to lose. You heard it here first.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's finish on that note. All right. Ashton says Ohio State will lose again. Okay, everyone out there, have a great week, and God bless.